Hello, 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 and welcome back to Electric Lawn Talk. We are here live with our panel of hosts. We got William up there with Sust. We've got Dan down in Florida with Electron. Myself, I am Jake out of Green Team Denver over here in Denver. We've got Sean up there in Maryland with Luminary Lawns, and we got Steven down in the great old state of Texas with EcoMo. How is everybody doing this fine day, gentlemen?
I'm
Doing
doing
great.
wonderful.
Good.
But I have a question. Wait,
Good to
Green
be
Team
back.
Denver's in Denver?
We
How is
are,
everyone doing?
believe
Dang.
I know, mind
I,
blowing.
I
Absolutely.
thought you guys were in Baltimore.
That's
It would have
gonna
been
be our
great.
second
We want more
location,
people in Maryland. Come on.
right?
Water's warm. Lacrosse season. Everything's good, man. Everything's good.
Yes,
We're in,
sir.
you can go
We're
play
in
golf.
two-a-week practice mode for lacrosse for my kids right now. It's crazy.
Nice. We're in 2-a-day friggin' lawn care mode right now over here in Denver. More so landscaping than anything right now. So for those of you that may be checking out our backlog of podcasts, we are live right now on March 22nd of 2023. It is currently 8:26 Mountain Time. And gentlemen, this is kind of a surprise episode. So the boys here don't even know what the topic is yet. The topic tonight is going to be electric, gas, or hybrid. Does gas have a place in an electric lawn care setup? Okay.
Nope, that was a
gentlemen?
short episode. Thanks for joining in.
That's funny.
So,
Wait, what do you
okay,
drive again? What do you drive again?
Damn, you took my answer. That's what I was gonna say. Does it have a place? Until we can efficiently get vehicles, it has a place. Until I can get a Maverick when I need it, right? It has a place. Come on, Dan.
That's right. That's right. So I think that this topic, it deserves a little bit more of a preponderance of explanations and whatnot. I don't even know what preponderance means. I'm gonna come clean on that one.
It sounded good. It sounded good.
We're on the same
We
boat.
all
I don't either.
supported you. No one, we wouldn't have said a word if you didn't say a word. We're going to support you.
I called myself out.
All right, all
But William, I'm going to start with you. What are your thoughts here? Okay, we all run electric lawn care and landscape setups.
Yep.
Okay, that's what we base our companies off of. But as we also know, in 2023, there's some areas where the electric equipment is lacking. So, do you find a place where you end up having to, resort to the gas equipment, or do you draw that hard line and say, nope, not for me?
Yeah.
I'm the Lorax. What are your
Well,
what are your thoughts?
first I'll give a shout out to our friend Gerhardt, because now I see why you said you wish he was here for this, because I
Yeah.
know he would probably have a strong opinion, no across the board, right? If he had to go get goats to be able to take care of a hill that we didn't have something for. So I'll answer
Yep.
for him and saying he's probably saying no. But I think the point was it was even already made. Like, is there a place for it, vehicle wise? There kind of has to be at this point, right? Right. We, for our landscape vehicle, run a diesel, certified clean diesel, a Zuzu cab over, because we want to have something small that can get into tight spaces, small neighborhoods in the Bethesda area, Chevy Chase area where we're at. And what that allows us to do is not have the guys hauling trailers, dealing with any of that stuff. It's efficient to go where we're going. I can't get enough affordably lightnings or something like that to be all, or go convert them, right? There's a couple companies, we were actually just talking with a business today that's doing some of the conversions over. So I think from a vehicle perspective, there has to be a place, right? Even look at what Brightview's doing, trying to make some of their moves on the hybrid fleets for the Mavericks and the Honda Accords for all of their field people. So I'm going to say vehicles, there's absolutely a place. I think there's a place to get better, but there's also jobs that have to be done at certain levels that require you to be able to do it.
Yeah.
Day-to-day maintenance, there's no reason we should need gas at all, right? When we're starting to get into the mowing season here in probably the next week or two. So cutting the grass, cleaning it, trimming the hedges, doing anything like that, edging in the beds, right? Whether that's shovels and a lot of the things we're doing maintenance wise, whether that's putting a cart mate on the front of the electric things we have, right? There's a lot of different things for, I would say, most of those pieces. We also don't need it. Last piece where we're actually still trying to figure out is what do we do at the end of the season, right? Leaf pickup, leaf blowers, getting everything in, load it on the truck to be able to compost it. What's the unit economics around getting it at the street and getting a leaf loader? And that being one of the gas pieces of equipment that we have to be able to take that. Leaf grow is a big thing around here. The county does it, right? That's leaves to be able to be used as a soil conditioner. So there's ecological ways to do that while still using gas to pick it up. But for a gas leaf loader, there's probably nothing else we need gas for because we've got the Greenworks that we can put a cart mate on front of to solve hauling things back and forth. We've got the ability to put spreaders on the front of them as well and use them almost as a multi-tool because there isn't a great spreader fertilizer unit or something like that. So I'm going to say within the equipment side, there's probably no need on what we're doing residential and even some of the commercial side, but for maybe leaves. From a vehicle perspective, we have to, right? There's no way to not, but we could get there eventually, and that's not even talking about organics and some of the other things you can do. So I'm gonna say, is there a place maybe at the end of the year? Outside of that, if if you're saying that you need it for some particular reason, I think it's more of an excuse to not do the hard work to solve it. We got a guy who I know has got a clean air lawn care franchise who bought a Skag mower because they use Skag mowers because they said they just use electric hand tools, not all electric everything because they still need it to be able to do it. Not just to me. Again, everyone can do whatever they need to do to make their business successful, right? And we're all in this to make money and be successful. But I'm going to say more often than not, I'll end it by saying I side with my friend Gerhardt. I don't think you need it. I really don't, other than the vehicles.
Nice, nice. So let me just kind of quickly recap because you packed a lot in there. So I think what I heard was that for vehicles right now, it's still necessary. But with that said, you can kind of get creative in the type of vehicles that you choose to use in being efficient with your gas vehicles. And then secondly, maybe kind of towards the end of the year, and thank you for touching on that because that was going to be my question to you is, what do you guys do for that leaf pickup sort of time? Because that's really when, the heavy lifting kind of comes in as far as the maintenance side. So thanks for touching on that. That's also something that we're going to be touching on this fall. I think, spoiler alert, we are going to be purchasing a gas, as you called it, leaf loader, sucker upper, leaf vacuum. Yeah, so
I'll just jump before you go. We actually didn't have one last year and had a couple of the Mean Green 33-inch mowers and just kind of mulched them down. And two of them were in the shop getting new blade controllers because all you're doing, you're not cutting into grass and you're just letting those things roll all day, just chopping them down and chopping them down or chopping them down to be able to put in the bed. So even if we're leaving the leaves, you still got to be able to pick them up. And that's beating the crap out of the equipment. Or you can get enough blowers and use that plus the mowers to kind of get it up. But then either how do you get it out of there? How do you get some of them out of there if you don't have a place, right? I can't put 9 inches of leaf mulch in someone's yard, right? We could do some to leave it, and we know all the benefits of that, but it can't all stay. And last year we were raking it and tarping it and pulling it into tarps. And I just think as we expand to the number of clients we're getting to, it's not going to be sustainable. So I agree with you. That's kind of where we're having to go to this year.
Yep. Yep. That those are some great points, and even when you do get creative, they could have some consequences on the equipment and or consequences on the profitability of the
Exactly.
work that you're doing. So I'm gonna come down to Steven next, because I'm really interested. We went from the Northeast up there, and then we're going down to the kind of Southwest, and really different climates. I'd love to hear your opinion on this topic, Steven. What do you have to say?
Yeah. So it's a great question. And as much as we try to, I guess I want to compartmentalize what the way we run our business. I think that will be helpful to provide an explanation. And that is on the maintenance side of our business, right? With the lawn crews, that's 100% electric, obviously, with the exception of the vehicles that we're driving. Um, but everything that we have on the trucks, everything that we use is all electric equipment because it can do everything that we need it to do almost as efficiently as if we were running a gas powered company. So I, I I want to segment that out because I think that's really important to, you know, just to know that, okay, great. We know we can do everything on the maintenance side, electric, but when we get into the landscaping side of what we do, because I mean, we do, we're almost a 50-50 company, right? Where half of our revenue comes from maintenance and the other half comes from landscaping projects. And case in point, right now we are in several pretty big jobs doing some sod installations. And, each one of these has probably got 10 pallets or more of sod. And there's a lot of tilling that needs to be done. There's a lot of land clearing that needs to happen. And we use gas powered machines for larger tillers. We use Bobcats for grading properties. If we're doing installations, we could do it with shovels. But the reality of it is, we are also in the business. We have to make money, right? At the end of the day, and that's important to us because we probably can find a way to do the task with electric tools, but it's certainly going to take us a whole lot longer to do, and we're going to make a lot less money. In the reality of it is, if we weren't utilizing gas powered tools for some of these larger landscaping projects that we were doing, we would not be profitable. So that is the reason in and of itself why we find ourselves using a lot of gas powered equipment, particularly on these bigger landscaping projects. There's not, I mean, there is. Cavaco makes the Elise skid steer, which is a track loader skid steer. Um, and but the problem is, that unit's really not available here in Dallas for rent. And if you want to go out and buy one, it's going to cost you $80,000. And we don't do $80,000 worth, it's just not worth the investment, for the amount of business that we do to actually go out and buy one of these units. And we got to get some land cleared, so we've got to clear, a half an acre or an acre and grade out a property so we can put down 10 or 15 pallets of sod. And in most cases, it just makes sense to get the Bobcat out there because we know we can knock it out, in a short period of time. Same thing with the tillers. I mean, we've got some electric tillers that we can use for kind of smaller landscaping installation projects for tilling flower beds and kind of fluffing them up. Or if we've got smaller areas where we're maybe doing an install of 1 or 2 pallets of sod, then yes, we can use the electric tillers that we have. They serve the purpose. Obviously, it creates a little bit more work for us because we're having to rake the area, grade the area. But yeah, I mean, and I just don't think that I don't think electric is quite where it needs to be for these larger landscaping projects, particularly to make someone profitable.
Have you ever had pushback from a customer? Have there been like, hey, it says this, it's that?
Yeah, I mean, we've had questions answered, and quite frankly, I answer the question exactly like I answered it here on the podcast,
Yep.
and that is,
Mhm.
hey, if you want us to do your project, I'm more than happy to have our 4 or 5 man landscaping team grade your property with shovels and rakes. But you as the consumer, you also need to know that I'm going to charge you 3 times as much as what it costs because
Right.
that's how much longer it's going to take us to get the job done. So
Mhm.
I'm in a business to be profitable, right? We're in the business to make money. We all are. And whenever I respond with that type of response, people clearly understand,
Right.
hey, if there was an electric Bobcat out there here in Dallas to rent, um, we would go out and get it. And believe me, our minds are focused on being electric,
Mhm.
and our maintenance side of our business is 100% electric. But on these landscaping projects, it's just not feasible. First of all, the tools aren't available,
Yeah.
and in addition to that, it's just not cost effective to do it. So, yeah, in that case,
We've
we
been
go with gas.
challenged. We've been challenged similarly sometimes. One of the vehicles we have is a 90s diesel F-250, and
Hmm.
folks are kind of the same. Like, hey, you've got this, but that, and again, I think most folks' reasonableness prevails. There's always going to be one, and
Mhm.
that might not be the target customer for us for those reasons. So definitely leading the witness a little bit in that question, but happy to know A, we're not the only ones, which I didn't assume we were, and B, that response is pretty typical to what we've done as well, and it seemed to work well for us.
Hmm.
Well, and William, I think what's important to point out is that sustainability and environmental consciousness wears many hats. And to your point of driving that diesel truck, is a diesel will go for 400,000 miles, whereas an electric vehicle may make it 200 miles, or even a gas vehicle, if we're lucky, makes 200 miles. So the energy and the materials that goes into making that truck, is made one time and goes for the life of what a different vehicle would go through
Yeah,
2 lives, you know what I
fair
mean?
point. Yeah.
So yeah, and I think, I'd probably speak, for all of us, that we all love the environmental sustainability aspect of the electric, but it's not the sole purpose that we do it. We also do it because it's um, sometimes very low maintenance. I mean, we do have stuff that breaks down, at times. It's quiet. For me personally, it's easier on my joints, doesn't vibrate as much, stuff like that. So it's not just that environmental aspect of it.
Yeah.
So
Uh,
I think in
I've
addition to
actually
that, it's the noise, particularly. I mean, that's one of the reasons why we like it so much. I mean,
mm,
from the maintenance side, you mentioned that with having the brushless motors, you've got a lot less vibration. If you've got any crew members that have arthritis or whatever the case may be, um, but the noise factor is, I mean, that's a big deal, and you've got quality of life for the guys that work for the team. I mean, you're having to wear less protective ear covering. Um, we all know that the clients love it. We always get a lot of compliments on that when we're out there in the field. Oh my gosh, your machine, everything's so quiet. Wow, that's so great. Come over here, talk to us. Do our lawn or whatever the case may be. And we like it for that reason too.
heck yeah, man. Well, I really appreciate you sharing, Stephen, because another spoiler here, Green Team Denver. The reason this topic kind of popped up is because we've been working on a huge garden bed install. We're installing 7 garden beds that are 4 by 16 foot. And in order to do this, we had to demolish the existing garden beds, move 35 yards of soil. And in order to do that, we had to rent a dingo, which is diesel. And I, as I was, maneuvering this dingo around and working it all day today, I thought about this topic and thought about how this dingo is basically doing the work of 2 to 3 men. and also saving 2 to 3 men's worth of backs and, potential workman's comps claims and all this stuff. So do I feel bad about it? At the end of the day, no, I don't, because to your point, Stephen, we do need to be profitable. So
can I ask a question on that though? When you first fired it
Yeah.
up, and you were, on the gas side, did you have like the thought of, wow, I haven't been around this in a while?
Oh
It,
yeah.
it definitely stands out. Like for me, I had
Right.
never thought about it that way, but we have a really old tractor that we've got, and fired that up to just get it ready for the season. The kids love to play on, and it came with the house we had. It's a super old Toro workhorse, and fire the thing up, and I'm like, man, I haven't smelled this like gas and oil, and it's been a year, right, since we started the last one, and everything's been electric, and I hadn't really been like around it and up close. I was like, wow, not, oh, I'm so happy or didn't do it or give me an instant headache or anything like that. Nothing a crazy over rotation, but it was definitely like a stop and think and go, damn, I guess I was around that a lot and just kind of took it for what it was. And then after being out of the game, it's just like, it was surprising to me. And I was curious if you had a similar experience when you were like firing these gas things or these diesel things up.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And you see that huge puff of smoke, especially early in the morning. It's kind of cold out and they're puffing a little bit extra. And
That's the best smell you can get. Diesel, fresh diesel smell like that.
I suppose for some bring back a little bit of nostalgia, but
Oh, Sean's ready to come at you. Go at it, Sean.
I like to get my highs elsewhere. I don't know. I we have a couple of combustion engines in the shop right now that we'd taken off of these Toro Time Masters that we're working on, and man, I can't even stand walking in the shop right now. The smell of the gas fumes in there, I get an instant headache. I don't know, man. We you were talking about the other reasons for what we do, and I kind of see those as like ancillary benefits on for us personally. You know, we started this company really with a big focus on sustainability, and so I think it was mentioned earlier the vehicles that we're still working on. We do have hybrids for most of our vehicles. We would love to convert those to electric, but the number, we do have to be profitable as well, and the numbers on the electric vehicles are just kind of astronomical right now. We can't figure out how to work that in. But when it comes to the actual job that we're performing, we're pretty. It's a pretty hard and fast rule that it's got to be either electric or manual. So if there's not a piece of electric equipment that we can use to do the job, we're grabbing shovels and just hacking away. We really that's kind of a, I don't know, that's a line in the sand for us as a company. It does limit us on the scope of what we can do. We have had to turn away jobs because it is beyond what the limitations of the equipment that we have available at the moment. And so, I get it. I see why you guys might go that route to be able to knock out a job, but for us personally, for what we're trying to do with our business, we make sure that if there is a larger job that could be done in a fraction of the time with the gas equipment, we just make sure that we communicate that with the customers, let them know, hey, we can do this, but it's going to take a lot longer. It's going to take some extra time. And so that's why it's going to cost a little bit more to go with us versus somebody else in town. And we win some, we lose some on that front, to be honest with you. But yeah, I mean, I honestly, like, it's as electric as possible for us. Like I said, with the vehicles, we are still running some gas through there, but we're trying to be as efficient as we can with the hybrids there. Can't wait to be able to bring in electric equipment or vehicles for that. Um, I know there are some things that we can't get electric equipment for right now out in the field, and it's where we're trying to be creative on the back end and trying to develop equipment that can handle it on the electric side, whether it's converting equipment or finding some makeshift ways to do it with our Frankenstein aerator and converting over these Toro Time Masters over to electric. Though I know Toro's doing it too. I can't wait to see how their new Time Masters come out with the electric. I want to see how they compare to what we're putting together ourselves in house here. But yeah, we're it's a pretty firm rule for us. Anything in the field has to be electric.
That's awesome, man. And much respect to you, Sean, on many levels for one, converting some of your own equipment over. I know that takes a lot of technical skills as well as time and energy. And then two, for drawing that line in the sand, you know what I mean? Even though some of us, choose to dabble a little bit in the gas game and all that, you choose to draw that hard and fast line. And that's what makes the world go round, that we can have differences and
The
still
hell we can. No, I'm out. No.
That's funny.
And I mentioned that because I think it is kind of important to mention, because we, as we consider ourselves pioneers, all of us in the electric movement. And I know pretty regularly online, specifically, we get a pretty good harassing here and there. For whatever reason, it really, really wrecks people's days that we run electric lawn care companies. I don't know what we ever did to these people personally, but they take it very, very personally.
See,
Some people don't like change.
It's funny because I don't hate on the gas powered guys. They just hate on me.
Exactly. Yeah.
I got to be honest. I hate on them a little bit, but but they came at me first, so it's all right.
Right.
That's right. But Mom always said, if you got haters, you're doing something right. So I think, Dan, your mom always said that too. And I'd love to hear what you have to say on this topic. What do you got?
Sure. How do you know she said that?
I had dinner with her last night. So
no. Hey, did he at least pay for it?
I did. I'm a gentleman.
Good.
Come on.
All right. Good. But yeah, no, we dabble in both. Like when we have landscape projects, well, if there's too big, we'll end up getting a sod cutter or a tiller. We tried a tiller this week, but sod cutter for sure. We like to use that to cut sod off, haul that away from the property, lay new sod down.
I heard Ronnie wasn't a fan of the tilling.
He did not like the tiller at all. I went to the job site and looked at what he was doing. He was like, "This is not fun." I was like, "Well, you tried it." So he was not fun. He didn't like it. But yeah. So again, for maintenance, all of it's electric. We've had things that, like, if we had to get a brush cutter for some HOAs that we had to do, like ponds that we had to cut down for. We had to rent brush cutters for that, but just to get the HOA happy and keep that stuff down for them. Other than that, it's for maintenance is all electric. We have everything we have is electric for maintenance. Truck pickups we use all gas. Obviously, there's nothing affordable. You go look at a Lightning, they're not even selling them anymore. They're also $80,000. The ones they do have on a low end. If you want to pay $80,000 for a pickup truck to go mow a few yards, that's up to you. But it's a hard pill to swallow when you're trying to have something like that for the field. People will look at you funky. It's pretty much almost driving like Mercedes SUVs to go mow somebody's lawn. You think about it. You imagine that you pull up to somebody's yard with the Mercedes AMG Mercedes, look at you like, "Well, why do you drive the Mercedes to mow my yard?" "Oh, this costs as much as the Ford Lightning. Why not?"
Hey man, that's
There's
kind of like
actually
Jamar over there. He's driving that Tesla around to give out quotes and everything. I mean, dang, that's a white glove service.
Yeah,
Exclusive.
there
there's
you go.
actually a there's a company right down the street from me that their vehicle is a Cadillac Escalade.
Wow.
Yeah, we've got a few of them around here in Dallas too. Escalades.
Yeah.
They mow your
mowing
lawn,
yards with
and
Esca-
deal your drugs all in
Wow,
one.
wow. But yeah. So for us, it's we'll use both depending on the job. Um, we love the electric stuff just because it's quieter. Kind of go back to some of the points that you made. It's for us physically, it's a lot better. I don't have to worry about the smell going home with the smell of 2-cycle oil on you. All that fumes that you're breathing in all day. Not only the dust you're breathing in, but you're also bringing, like, if you're weed eating that thing and that's in your head, you're trying to edge with that, and some people lift it up this way. They have that in motor just in your head. Like you would go home and probably still feel that vibration and that noise in your head. So definitely better for the guys, and I think that's a big reason why it's easier to be an electric business for maintenance.
Yeah, I hear you, man. I've got one follow-up question for you, Dan. How do the electric mowers fare against the alligators down there, man?
Oh, they don't hear them, so they don't worry about us.
Oh, okay. They could go right by them.
Yeah, go right by them. They don't even know us. We don't make a smell. We don't do anything. We just go right by them. That's it.
Okay.
No big deal.
That's awesome, man. Well, I think we're basically down to me. Best for last. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, best for last, man.
But yeah, man. Speaking of that, having the trimmer up by your head and all that, you got the vibrations. Not to mention the hearing and everything. That's the biggest thing that I noticed with the gas stuff is that my hearing. Like, I'll go home and I'll lay in the bed and I'll still hear the ringing. And I've shared a couple times on this podcast that I've got a business partner, and my business partner's father actually used to own a lawn care company. And it was all gas and everything. And he's as deaf as they come, man. I mean, he's got double hearing aids in both ears and everything. And I'm assuming that's just from running all that gas equipment all those years, man. Not to mention he does a little hunting here and there. But going back to Green Team Denver, we actually, a lot of people are saying that they do all electric on the maintenance side, some gas on the landscape side. We actually do a little bit of gas on the maintenance side as well as a little bit of gas on the landscape side. So I would say that we're kind of a true hybrid in that sense. On Thursdays, we typically mow around 40 yards. And so we just haven't been able to find a good setup for that electric equipment and good charging system. I'm going to be working on Dan this season. Dan,
we got you, bro. We got you.
Hell yeah. So we've had to resort to going with the gas equipment, 230-inch Toros, as well as we do run some Red Max string trimmers and some Red Max leaf blowers on those days on Thursday. But with that, we're really trying to move towards that electric just because of all the advantages that we've talked about in this podcast. And I really do think that is possible with some of the charging technology that Dan's providing to this group, as well as some of the stuff that's coming out in the industry here. So pretty excited about trying to kind of convert that way. And then, on the landscape side, we're going to kind of continue to use gas as needed, in order to be profitable, in order to maximize our time, our efficiency, also while being environmentally conscious. Sean, don't hate me, my brother. We do care about the environment
Nothing
out
but
here.
love.
He's all mad. He put you down on the hit list.
Yeah, him and Gerhard both. They're gonna carpool out to Denver and come off me.
Gerhard already has Ronnie on the scope.
I
Have you ever
believe it.
noticed on the Discord? He has him on the scope.
Really? Dang, man. I gotta keep an eye out for that. But
If
yeah,
I'm coming out to
gentlemen.
Denver, it's gonna be for goose hunting and skiing, man. Don't worry, we're good.
Hey, we gotta make that happen.
We all know you're not going to Denver just for that.
Yeah.
We're gonna keep this to be a family show. But guys, I just want to kind of leave the floor open here at the end to you guys. We had a lot of good conversation about the maybe mixing gas with electric, maybe drawing that line in the sand. Give me your quick hitter kind of closing thoughts on this topic. I'm going to start with Steven down there in Texas, man. What do you got for closing thoughts here?
I would just say, yeah, I think we're all doing the same thing, right? We're all our focus obviously is to use electric as much as we possibly can. Uh, there it's got its challenges. I think we all know that from the maintenance side, the tools are adequate now. Obviously, we've seen a lot of advances in technology here in the recent past, right? Just over the last year, we've seen a lot of advances, a lot of new players coming into the game, a lot of former gas manufacturers that are making some pretty solid electric equipment, right? With steel, they've got good equipment. Toro's got the new Time Master coming out, and I'm excited about where the industry is headed. I will say that that's with a certain degree of reservation. I think that the maintenance electric is perfectly fine for the maintenance. I think it's going to be quite a while before it catches up or gets to where it needs to be to handle the capacity of some of these larger landscaping projects. I mean, it really is. And to Dan's point earlier, then you get into the affordability piece, right? He mentioned that a Lightning will cost you $80,000. And the reality of it is, a Kavako, at least 300 or 400 track skid steer is going to cost you $80,000 also. So it just comes down to, we're all focused on, we want to use electric as much as we possibly can. The reality of it is that equipment's just not available. Or if it is available, none of us can afford to go out and buy it. So, I'm excited about the advancements that are happening. I know there's a lot of new laws, particularly here in Dallas, that are going to force a lot of gas powered companies to make that transition over to electric. I will say I'm as much as I support the transition to electric, I don't support the ban on gas. Right? I'm a human being, and I know that there's guys that I work alongside here in Dallas that run gas powered companies, and they've got mouths to feed, families to feed, and they've got gas powered equipment, and that's how they earn their living. And I am not going to be one to ever push any agenda to drive these people to force anybody to make that transition over to electric. It will happen organically in time. We see it happening month over month and year over year as all these companies are coming out with more and more electric equipment that is starting to manufacture equipment that's comparable to gas powered equipment. The big issue is cost, right? Who can afford to go out and buy all of this equipment? So, but it's just like flat screen TVs, right? 7 years ago, a 50-inch flat screen TV would have cost you $5,000, and now you can go to Costco and buy one for $300. So it's just going to take a little bit of time.
97 on Black Friday.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's just going to take time for that product to kind of make its mainstream, to move into the mainstream of maintenance. But in closing, I would say we got to make money, all of us. or else
Mhm.
we wouldn't even be here talking. We'd be doing something else. And I really love this group that we're all focused on pushing that, that agenda to make sure that we do everything we possibly can electric. The reality of it is we have to use gas powered equipment from time to time, and it is what it is. That probably won't be that way in 3 or 4 years when we have electric skid steers and big electric tillers and stuff. But you know, here's where we are, right? You know, so
Yep. Amen. Amen. Absolutely. And I think, the advancement of battery technologies, these lithium or even these other compounds that they're using in batteries to prolong battery life and faster charging and everything is going to advance this equipment a lot, as well as potentially make it more affordable. Um, it'll also be really interesting to see that as legislation is passed, as it has in California, it's one of the more notable ones. Um, if they do subsidy programs like they did in California, I don't think we have enough time to go into detail on that in today's show, but maybe that can be something that we kind of expound upon a little bit more in the future. Dan, what do you got for closing thoughts here today?
For me, I think how you kind of find a way to, if you could have the same power source for all your equipment, it would be easier, right? Because that's what you have for gas, right? You have the same power source for all your equipment, one fuel cell, one fuel thing. So if you can start getting manufacturers working together and say, you know what, we're going to standardize this battery, and everybody's going to use this 48-volt battery or 72-volt battery, whatever has it, and everybody standardize that, and you can kind of have your own battery that works on all of them. You might have an easier transition into that. More people using it. Everybody's on the same voltage. Everybody's the same, right? It'd be easier. Kind of like what you have in your hand tools when you use your power tools, 18 volt, 20 volt. They're all on that voltage. So if you can get that synchronized, it'd be very good. Everything charges the same way, right? Kind of like with your vehicles, Tesla chargers, or the J1172 or whatever they're called. But once you have that, I think it'll be easier to transition, and that makes it easier for everybody to use a electric skid steer that's electric. But you can use a mower that's electric. You could probably just take your battery from your mower and put it onto your skid steer. One, it brings the price down on your equipment because you already have the battery. Two, it's just easier for the customer just to buy the shell and just put their own battery in it
Mm-hmm.
and then move on.
Yep.
So that's where you can make that product cheaper and just sell one source of battery, and everybody has it already, and it'll be pretty much like a gas can as you have it now, and then everybody uses that. So I think once you have that where it's cheaper, one, but you can multi-use it at the same time. So if you have a push mower or you have a ride-on mower, you can use that same battery to put on your skid steer. Use that on your excavator, your Dinko, or whatever you're using, your sod cutter. That interchangeable battery could save a lot of that issue in the future. I think that might happen, might not happen, but seems a little stretch for me. But that would be easier.
Mm-hmm.
In a perfect world. That would be something that would be nice to have and see that for everybody to work together on the same voltage.
yeah,
Yeah.
That's interesting that you say that, because you wonder. Obviously, that's where all these big manufacturers are. I mean, that's where the money's at, right? Is in the batteries, and we all know that when you buy a tool, from Ego, a backpack blower that might cost you $500, you can actually buy the bare tool for like $100. All the money's in the battery, and it's an interesting thought that you bring up, that if you had a universal battery, are you suggest? Well, I want to back up here because this is a great topic, and maybe we should talk about this another time. Um, I know that Ego, obviously, they were kind of the pioneers in that, right? Where they were the one battery,
Fits all.
one battery fits all tools,
Yep.
right? And then everybody else is like, oh, yeah, wait a second. This is a really good marketing idea. And we started seeing Ryobi and Cobalt and all these other people coming into the game where it's the one battery fits all tools kind of thing. And they were the pioneers. There might be another one before them, but they were certainly the ones that were marketing that heavy from the get-go, that one battery, all tools.
For outdoor equipment.
Yeah, for outdoor equipment. So are you suggesting that there's one battery that fits all brands?
Yeah, kind of. Pretty much, like, especially when you go into your push mowers, into your bigger mowers, right? So look at your Mean Green mower, right? That's a great example. That battery they have on that Mean Green, if they just sold you the shell and you just bring your own battery, their cost of that Mean Green would go $8,000 cheaper, $10,000 cheaper, right? So now you're buying a piece of equipment that might be $5,000, $8,000, and then you just fill it up with your fuel source, just like you do on a gas mower,
Right.
right?
Mhm.
So you bring your own fuel source, which is your own 48-volt battery that you probably have from your old Mean Green or the one you use for your push mower. Maybe you stack them, right? You have one 48-volt, maybe it's 100 amp hour or 50 amp hour 48-volt, and you series connect them or your parallel connect them, which is, and then that same battery you can use on your push mower.
Yep.
And that same battery you can use on your skid steer if you have 4 of them hooked up. Just thinking about like that, kind of like an Eagle thing, but it'd be a universal where you can just plug into this port, Anderson connector, 175 amp Anderson connector. And here's this temperature sensor so your battery doesn't get too hot for our unit. And that's it.
Yep.
And then that's all you need.
I love where your head's at, and I love if that became a reality, it would be amazing. I don't see it happening for a long time.
I don't see it either.
But I think probably what's more
Gravely
likely
has a good idea on that.
What's that?
Gravely with their little pack outs, their little thing, similar idea, right?
I think what's probably more likely to happen in the near term, at least, is universal chargers coming about, where you can have a charging unit that will have different pieces that you can swap in and out based on the brands, so that you can charge multiple batteries from one charging unit, from one storage battery kind of thing. So you can have one main source of power and then be able to recharge all of your different tools off of it based on different types of connectors, different types of voltage, be able to dial in the voltage. I mean, that's kind of where we are right now on, behind the scenes on what we're trying to build for this season and going forward, is having, we've been very reliant on a single brand up until this point. We've all of our equipment has been Ego, and for a variety of reasons, we've discussed them in previous episodes. I won't go into them too much today. We are diversifying the tools that we are using for this upcoming season and going forward. And so we will have various different brands, batteries that we need to charge. And so we're creating a charging solution on the go that has multiple different connectors, kind of like, if you think about like think about your laptop right now, right? I used to be in a sales role. I would have to go into these different sales rooms, have different setups for projectors at every distributorship that I went to previously, and so I had to be able to make my laptop connect to whatever setup that they had for their projector or whatever type of screen that they had to be able to show my laptop's contents to the entire sales room. And so I had an adapter that had multiple different connectors for it, right? And you have this for any
dongle.
Yeah, the dongle.
Yeah.
So basically we're creating a dongle charging port where we've got these things that we can swap in and out and be able to charge lots of different batteries, recharge everything on the go, regardless of what brand they are, be able to hook those up and recharge them and go. And I think that as more people get into electric, you're going to see that become more mainstream before any type of consolidation on batteries themselves, because the companies that are producing this equipment, they are still putting in a lot of money for the research and development, the R&D of this part of the industry, and their easiest way to recoup that is by having a single battery for their brand. Right, it might work on all of their equipment, but it's not going to work on other people's equipment because they want to keep you in house. And so being able to charge across the board, I think, is going to be the quickest way to solve that problem.
It seems like, well, it doesn't seem like, but I mean, obviously the biggest thing is the batteries. It's not the tool. I've had conversations with Jason Jones at Ego about this before, and I said, hey, why can't we make, because I think like the strongest motor on the Select Cut XP is like 9.5 foot-pounds of torque, right? And I said, well, man, why can't you guys just make like a 13-pound or a 14-pound foot-pounds of torque motor, and make these things like super strong, right? So they like do some massive cutting. He said that we can. That's not the problem. He said we can make a 20 foot-pound torque motor and put it in any machine and make it 3 times more powerful than a gas powered machine. The problem is the battery life. When you put a battery, the capability of the batteries that they have, and that's why all of this R&D, guys, that's going on right now, it's not in the tool, it's in the batteries, because that is the biggest issue, is the capacity and the sustainability and the duration of the batteries, just squeezing more technology into a smaller box.
And I think that's bullshit. I'm just going to put it out there. I think the battery technology is there. It's these companies wanting to keep it in their own battery and having it being an affordable battery that people can buy just for their equipment, right? If you had a universal battery like Dan was talking about, you could have as big of a battery as you wanted, and it could be reasonably priced, and you could use it across all of your equipment all day, and that would not be a problem. But these companies want to keep you in-house. They want to keep you tied into their equipment, locked into their systems.
Sure.
And I get it. I'm not hating them for doing it. But I think we need to find I think the biggest unlock in the near term is going to be finding a solution that will allow you to charge multiple of these batteries and across the board, and finding ways to plug in larger batteries into these existing tools, so that you can just skip right over that.
Yeah, it's like everything is based on the size of your battery. So if you only have a 10 amp 56 volt battery, you can only pull so much out of that 10 amp 56 volt battery. If you have a 40 amp hour battery, right, like also, and it's it's 2000 watts versus 500, so now you can pull 2000 watts out of that battery at a peak torque. Maybe even on if it's a LiFo, you can probably do 5x that. So you can do 10,000 watts out of one pull on that battery without damaging it.
But you're still sacrificing runtime, which is the issue.
Yeah, but you can just put another battery on it.
If you have another battery,
just like a bigger gas motor, right? If you have a gas power engine, the bigger engine will take more fuel.
Well, I think that's whenever you get into that balance of power versus runtime.
Exactly.
Right?
Because,
if you've got 2 batteries and you can charge one just as fast as you can run down the other one, that's all you need is 2. You can you just keep swapping them.
That's Crest too, right? Crest is putting their resources and their R&D into the charging stations, right? With their so-called 8-minute charger. Or 12-minute
they're charging DC to DC. So that's the same concept that electric cars uses on level 3 charging, right? Level 3 charging just charges the car with 400 volt DC instead of trying to push 240 to a converter that converts it to 400 DC. Okay. That's how you get those quick charge times where a Tesla goes from 0 or from 20% to 80% in 15 minutes at 250 kilowatts an hour. That's because they're just discharging the battery that they're storing into your battery in your vehicle. So it's the same thing that Crest is doing. They're just doing it since the battery is so small, 8 minutes. I mean, if you can do a Tesla, imagine how much percentage you can get a Tesla, which is 100 to 200 times bigger than their battery. Don't see why we can't do it at this stage. It's just that you don't have another DC source anywhere else.
Yep.
If you had a universal battery, you could design systems that charges that fast. When you put it in your docking station, it just rapidly charges and you just swap it out. Rapidly discharges.
That's what we're working on right now is having a larger storage battery that we keep in the trunk of the cars, doing DC to DC, and have multiple connectors for each of the different batteries that we're trying to charge, and basically just be able to zap the power over there relatively quickly.
Yeah, you just gotta be careful when you do that without no controls in place where it limits the voltage or the amount of ampage back to the battery, because you could over amp and then the BMS was shut off.
Well,
that's where the fun happens.
Gentlemen, I'm sorry to cut you off there, Sean, Dan. Before Dan gets too far down the nerd rabbit hole, I'm gonna have to cut you off. We are bumping up on the 1 hour mark here, so I'm gonna do my best to just recap what we did. We just nerded out for a solid 15 minutes right there, so I'm gonna do my best to recap. So, doing my best to recap. Sean is soon to be coming out with Luminary chargers up there in Maryland. Dan, in an ideal world, basically is saying that there would be a universal battery. And the way that I kind of equate this in my head is, you have your AA batteries, you have your C batteries, you have your D batteries. Depending on the size of the equipment that you would be using, you might need a different size battery, but they would be universal among all brands. And then last but not least, the takeaway that I'm getting is that really what it comes down to is not only just the battery technology, but the charging technology that we have available to us. So as any good podcast host knows, leave them one and more. So that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to wrap this show up, boys. I think we did this topic some justice. So I thank you guys for being here tonight. I'm going to remind our listeners that we are on Instagram, Facebook, all your social platforms. We're on all of your highest quality podcatchers, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all that good stuff. And until next time, gentlemen and ladies, remember, ABC, always be charging.
Always be charging.
Love it.